Join us on the phone, someone who has been peripherally a part of this from the beginning, even if he didn't realize it, the newest member of the UK basketball coaching staff, Jay Lucas. Jay, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. Jay, I first interviewed you in the summer of 2006 when you were considering coming to Kentucky with Patrick Patterson and others when Tubby Smith was the coach, and now 14 years later you are here. I bet you never saw that coming, did you?
I never did. But, something, especially when I got into coaching, it's something you dream about, just like being a player, just being at the highest level, being able to go to a blue blood, and, Kentucky's the top of the food chain.
Well, I want to talk about your high school time in a little bit, but let's talk about the job you took. You've been brought in. Explain to folks what you're going to be doing and what made coming to Kentucky under Calipari attractive for you.
Bulk of what I will be doing is just helping with facilitating of recruiting, I guess is the best way to put it. So with visits when kids come to campus, organizing communication from the staff to the recruits, just making everything, I guess, run more efficiently. Because the one thing when you're an assistant coach, you have a lot of stuff on your plate. I know that from my time at Texas, but you have recruiting, you have taking care of the players on campus, and during the year you have scouting reports and film and video. So I see my job as just a way to help alleviate some of the stuff with the recruiting off the assistant coach's plate as best as I can. And, the thing that made it appealing when talking to Coach Cal about the job and everything was just, one, the opportunity to learn and continue to grow under him. But then also when you look at the staff, you have 3 guys on staff who've been former head coaches with Coach Flint, Coach Barbie, and Coach Robick. And then you have Joel Justice, who I consider one of my closest friends in coaching. Just the opportunity to be around them every day and continue to grow and learn was something that was hard to pass up.
Did you know Cal very well before all this? One of the things that's interesting is Cal tends to bring in people who he has a relationship with. Did you have that at all?
Just through my father. I wouldn't say it was something I really had a real relationship with Coach Cal. And, when talking about the job, that's what he was kind of explaining, exactly what you just said. He's very family-oriented, so he likes to hire people he considers family and knows. And in this position, he was having to step outside the box a little bit. So it was something that I kind of saw as an opportunity to kind of, like I said, continue to grow and get under him. And I think that's how it all came together.
You have a reputation as kind of one of the best young recruiting assistant coaches or coordinators, whatever, in the country. That you've had that reputation for a couple years, and obviously that's probably why Cal brought you here. Why do you think that's been something that's really connected for you?
I think one of the biggest things is that I had the rare opportunity of being in their shoes and being recruited at a high level and playing at a high level, and a lot of the experiences and things that they're going through I'm able to relate to without them having to tell me, without them having to talk about it. And then I think that's a big side of being young in the profession is that I'm closer to their age than the opposite way. So I think that's a big part of it. And then one of the biggest things is just you have to stay consistent in your communication and your phone calls and everything. So I think that's another thing is just getting a way to be organized and making sure you're doing everything you need to do.
They've done a pretty good job here over the last 10 years in recruiting. When you see that, do you say, okay, this is a standard I need to live up to? Is there pressure? This place has produced a lot of players.
Yeah, and that's what's exciting about it. With the pressure comes privilege. Like, you're privileged to have the pressure. That means you're doing something that matters. You're somewhere where people care and that it matters. And, it's like I said earlier, I'm not coming to reinvent the wheel or nothing. They had the number 1 recruiting class in the country last year. So it's not like they're having a problem recruiting. So my biggest thing is just, I hope to come and kind of help it be more efficient. And then as I get my feet under me and learn the lay of the land and how, Coach Cal and the staff likes to recruit and who they like to recruit and stuff like that, hopefully find a way to enhance it.
Will there be a pathway? Do you think you will move to an assistant's job at some point, or you don't know?
I don't know, and that wasn't the plan in taking the job. That wasn't something that was guaranteed to me or anything like that. For me, a lot of people see this as like a step back or something like that because I'm not an on-the-court assistant. But, in my mind, when he called and we talked about the position, that never crossed my mind because the assistant coach is something I've done, and I felt pretty good about the job I did at that. I thought this was just the next step that I needed to continue to grow and then come to a place like Kentucky. It's not like any other job, so it's not like I can come in here recruit like I did at Texas. It's a little bit different. So I think getting here and being in this position, and if someone were to leave or something were to happen in a couple of years or whatever, I think by then I'll be able to have my feet under me and know how to operate.
Sounds like you're saying when Kentucky calls, you take it, which I completely understand. But that didn't happen in 2007. So talk me through that decision. Kentucky was calling, and you ended up going somewhere else.
It's one of the big things about recruiting or looking for a job is there's always the place, but then the second part is the person. So, now with Coach Kyle being here is a no-brainer. Before with Coach Smith, it was a no-brainer in my mind. It was just that curveball he threw by taking that Minnesota job is the only thing that kind of stopped me from coming here. And I kind of had to scramble and find a school. If you remember, Florida was nowhere on the radar before.
Yeah, wasn't it Texas? Wasn't that kind of where you were looking, Kentucky and Texas?
No, it was Kentucky and Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
And it was one other school I can't remember, but those were those were the schools that I was looking at. Florida was not even in my top 5 or anything at the time. And then they called me the day of the McDonald's game, and then they won national championship, and then. I had known some of the recruits that were going there, Chandler Parsons, Nick Calathis and stuff, so it started to make sense later after the whole Kentucky thing kind of fell through.
By the way, Ryan, I think he ended up making the right decision in terms of when he said the coach there. I won't make him say it, but you remember who we had for a couple of years, don't you, Ryan?
It kind of rings a bell a little bit. Yeah, I think he's trying to be nice and courteous at this point.
We'll just leave it there. I do remember so I want to go back to that time because you and Patrick Patterson were a huge part of the growth of our KSR and the growth of my personal career was meeting you guys and doing those interviews. And I have argued, and I think this is true, that the two of your recruitments were the most covered recruitments we've ever had at this school, before or after. Did you feel that going through it?
A little, yes, I did. And, the Kentucky fan base, we were really on the, forefront before the social media, before Twitter, before all that. So, we were still MySpace and Facebook and stuff. So, you could feel the big blue nation through that. And I think, that was really the start of it, like you were saying, for yourself. But, for recruiting being so public and such a mainstream thing now, I really do think that was really the start of it because you're really starting to see it now more with kids and, stuff like that. But I do think that was the start of it.
I mean, I went through a period of time, Jay, where for 6 months, the only thing anyone ever said to me, it wasn't like, hey, how you doing? How's life? What are you up to? It was, have you heard anything about Patrick Patterson and Jay Lucas? That was all anyone ever said to me. And did it ever get overwhelming for you? I mean, I remember you telling me once towards the end, I just got to get this over with because my phone never stops ringing. Did it just get exhausting?
Yeah, it did. I think the kids nowadays have it more. It's a little bit more because you have so many more outlets now and so many more people that want to talk to you and stuff. And back then, you couldn't talk to coaches every day. The restrictions were a little bit different. It wasn't a text and, pictures every day and stuff like that. But it did start to get overwhelming. But you also enjoy it, and that's the exciting thing about being here and also about the fan base is that, it's amazing just how much they care and how passionate they are about it. That's what makes it so exciting.
So you were coming here if Tubby stayed, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
There you go. That's what I thought. Well, let me ask you about right now. I know you just got there, but you're coming in at a time that there's been a lot of talk in the last week about the video that the team did with Black Lives Matter, and there's just been a lot of sort of issues and controversy going on, and the team seems to be very unified. I know you've just gotten there, but coming from the outside, what are you seeing with this group, and sort of tell folks kind of what it's like dealing with all these issues when you're a leader like yourself.
The biggest thing is, it's a common theme at all universities right now. And I think it's a big thing in sports right now with how vocal the NBA has been, and, a lot of it trickled down to college. And I think the biggest thing is, as someone who is in the leadership position and someone who is what is considered an adult in college, is you have to be there to support them. And the biggest thing is telling them is they have to be unified in their message and what they want to say. And if that's what they want to do, then you have to be there to support them in all aspects. Because one of the biggest things is that parents and families send their kids to you to protect them, to support them, and to have their backs. And that's in every aspect. And, when they're wrong, you have to tell them they're wrong. And when they're right, you got to let them know they're right and that you're there for them. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is that, people just have to be open to the conversation and the communication of it. You can't just be stuck in your ways on both sides of the fence. Some people are passionate about something and some people may be passionate about the opposite, but you will never know what it truly is if you don't have a conversation or don't communicate about it, because through the communication you can kind of figure out where people stand and get a better understanding of it.
Well, 13 years ago when you committed to Florida, I kind of thought, well, I'll never be talking to that guy again. I wish him nothing but the best. And now 13 years later, you're back. You're on the show again. I do want to take the chance. I've said this to Patrick before, but I want to say it to you. You were very kind to me when almost nobody else gave us the time of day. And if it wasn't for that, I'd probably still be practicing law. So first of all, I want to thank you very much for that.
I know. It's almost like that Paul Rudd gif. I don't know if you've seen it, where he's sitting at the table and he tells the guy, "Look at us now." And so, that makes me think about this moment right here. Whoever thought 14 years later we'd be right here on the phone on the radio show. And before I got on the phone, someone told me, this is our biggest media outlet. It doesn't get any bigger than this. And I just kind of smiled because I remember those days of us just being on the phone. You were one of the only people I actually really picked up and did interviews for. And that was just, that just shows how good you are about your job and how much I trusted you in that sense.
Well, I appreciate it. And likewise, I always pulled for you. It's great having you here. I'm sure we'll see you and have you again soon. I wish you nothing but success, and you finally made the right choice and came to the Big Blue Nation. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I know I'm excited to be here. And I hope we get on sometime here soon.
Sounds good. Jay Lucas. We'll take a break and be right back. This is KSR.